Hey guys, welcome back. So this is the RAT course part 2, which is going to be an introduction to the language. Uh, Basically, introduction to language syntax, etc., etc. So at this time, you should have already watched my video on how to set up the Delphi IDE. However, I am going to really quickly just go over your options as well. So in terms of Delphi, you have two options. You can use the Community Edition, which is completely free, or you can purchase an actual license on the Embarcadero website. Those are your choices. So if most of you are probably here for learning purposes, and if that be the case, you're probably going to want to go with the Community Edition, or a 30-day trial of the real edition if you would like to do that. But in any case, you're going to want to go over to the Embarcadero website, and you're going to want to sign up for the Community Edition, download it, install it. Make sure to watch my video on how to set up the IDE the way that I do. And once you've done that, you'll be ready to roll. So for those of you who are ready to roll right now, let's go ahead and get started on this bad boy. So I have created, as you can see, a new Windows VCL form application. To do that, so to get to where I am, you just click File, New, Windows VCL application, Delphi, and that's going to bring you straight here. Okay, so once you're here, I wanted to kind of tackle learning the language in a little different way, by tackling what you're going to be doing by programming, rats, right? So let's go ahead and make this a little bit wider here. So let's say that you're trying to program a rat, right? You're going to be learning how to use a lot of different components and controls and stuff to be able to accomplish this goal. So first of all, you're gonna have to know what a button is. You're gonna have to understand what radio buttons are, check boxes, not necessarily in that order, by the way, but you're gonna have to learn all of these different things, what they can be used for on the graphical user interface. You're going to have to learn how to size them, move them, throw them into stuff. You're going to have to learn how to deal with the structure window. So for example, if I pull out the structure window, you can see that the form is the main parent and everything is inside of the form, right? You follow me so far? So if this is a group box and I want to drag this button into the group box, I can't just drag it in and drop it. It doesn't work. See, it goes behind it. You see that? So the reasoning behind that is the structure. So if you go to the structure pane and then take the button, drag it into the group box and drop it, now the button becomes a child component of that parent group box. So now you can see that the button is inside the boundaries of the group box. And if you drag the group box around, you're also dragging the button around, right? Pretty cool stuff, right? So now you've learned how to use the whole left side of the IDE practically. You know how to use the structure window and the structure pane and whatnot and drag stuff into stuff. And now you have the ability to, make graphical interfaces a little bit quicker if you needed to or whatever, right? So in a RAT, you're going to be using things like buttons, checkboxes, radio buttons, list views, group boxes, all sorts of stuff. And so it's important to know how to utilize these things so that you can get stuff done. So for example, in this particular case, let's go ahead and delete everything out of here. And let's go ahead and make ourselves a list view component and drag it on there. And we're going to sort of have a little fun, right? So we're going to kind of design ourselves a little mini rat, okay? We're not going to do any programming on it. This is just practice. This is just for fun, okay? So a lot of you guys out there, you get confused on how to actually design this stuff. And really, it can be a little mind-boggling for some people because they forget the name of the component they're supposed to use or whatever. So in this particular case, let's go ahead and drag this down to about here. So this is called a list view, okay? I'm going to right-click on it and go to Columns Editor, and I'm just going to add a whole bunch of columns. I'm going to auto size all of those columns. The first column is going to be IP address. The second column is going to be PC name. The third column is going to be, let's say, webcam. And the last column, or fourth column, will be antivirus. And we're going to close that out, scroll to the bottom of the object inspector so you can see list view 1 is selected. I'm going to select the view style to VS for view style report. And as you can see, our program is starting to look a little bit more like a rat, right? So now I'm going to grab a status strip or a status bar, and I'm going to throw one down. I'm going to right click on it and go to panels editor. You'll get this little window. I'm going to add one panel, and I'm going to type in connections, and no connections in there whatsoever. I'm going to make the width 100. So now, as you can clearly see, you have the beginning makings of a little mini rat. And I'm going to title the the caption rat, whatever. There you have it. And then we can grab ourselves a pop-up menu. See, this is why it's important that you guys understand all this stuff later on down the road, because it's going to be much easier for you to play with this stuff and make stuff super, super fast. See, I'm going in slow motion right now for me. I could have done this super, super quick, like done. But because I'm teaching you guys, I'm trying to go a little bit slow. So this is a pop-up menu. So I'm going to double click on the pop-up menu to bring up the pop-up menu designer window. And there you can start typing different things and designing your menu. So this is the first item that we're going to create. And I'm going to call it desktop stream, I don't know, or desktop spy. And on this, we'll go webcam spy. And on this, we'll go funny stuff. So then on the funny stuff menu, I'm going to right click on that menu and go create submenu. So now I'm going to say swap mouse buttons, and then on this I'll make it say fix mouse buttons, you know, something like that, right? And then I'm going to close out the menu, select the list view, go down in the object inspector until you see a pop-up menu selector here, and I'm going to select down on that and choose pop-up menu 1. I have just assigned the pop-up menu 1 that we just created right here to be the pop-up menu, or the context, right-click context menu pop-up for the list view control. Now, I'm going to click on the form to select form 1, go all the way to the bottom and look for position. I'm going to set this to be the center of my screen. And I'm going to run this rat real quick so you guys can kind of see. This is what it looks like, and if you right click, you've got your little menu, you see? So I'm going to theme it just real quick, because as you guys well know, I absolutely can't stand looking at a basic Windows app without a skin on it, right? I don't think any of you can either, right? So I'm going to put this skin on it, and we're just going to click run again just to see it a little bit better, right? So there you have it. Much better theme, very cool. Very nice. Now, I'm going to show you guys something. Let me run this program again. So you see if I resize how nothing follows? You see how like ugly that is? It doesn't follow. This is called anchoring. So if you want something to follow your form, you have to anchor it to the corners. And there's 4 anchors: top, left, right, and bottom. So I'm going to click on anchors on the list view 1, and I'm going to anchor left, top, right, and bottom. All 4. Check, 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 check. Now I'm going to run the program, and you're going to see that because I anchored the list view to top, left, right, bottom, true, 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 it follows with the form when I drag and resize. See that? See? Very nice, right? So now, you know, that's great because the status bar is already anchored to the right and the bottom and the left, because it's a default when you drag and drop the component. But there will be cases where you have to drag a component and you will have to manage it yourself and anchor it yourself in order to make it properly show up. Now, there's also other things. Doing this, for example, in FireMonkey applications, you can do it this very similar way, but you're going to want to be very careful about the release operating system that you're releasing for. You want to thoroughly test your app if you're making something, super professional to release on a market or something. But in any case, you just want to make sure that high DPI is set up, and your IDE looks crisp and good on your screen. You want to be able to get to these things quickly and easily, and most importantly, not be afraid of the IDE. The IDE is a tool. It's a tool in your tool chest. It's here to help you develop. It's not here to hurt you. Basically, it's here to be your bitch. You can think of it like that. So you need to make this IDE your bitch, okay? Because you're the mastermind, not the software, right? So in this case, I'll take this a little bit further for you guys, just because you are interested in rat development. So we have all this stuff. Let's go ahead and add let's add here. I'll just do something really. This is kind of ugly. I'm just gonna make a little button down here. We'll make a spin edit. This will be a really nice addition here. So let's do this. And on this, let's do a maximum and a minimum of 1 and 3434. And let's actually make the value 3434. And then let's put this here and grab ourselves a button. Remember, this is not professionally being made, guys. We're just playing around right now. I'm just teaching beginners, this is not a big deal. But we're going to call this listen, okay? So then we're going to grab ourselves a server socket, and I'll just use one from the Internet tab. This is extremely old and primitive, but we're not going to be using this, by the way, in our courseware material. But, well, I guess we are, because I'm going to use this one in this video, which is part of the courseware material, so we are going to use it. But we're going to make this socket listen on a port, okay? So I'm going to double click the button. Now, when I double click the button, it takes me to the code window, and it takes me directly to the event of the button one click event procedure. So in other words, when the user clicks the button, something is going to happen between the begin and the end, right here, okay? Now, there's two different ways of getting there. Actually, there's three. You can code it yourself like a boss, or you can double click the button to take you straight to the event on click, or you can go to events in the object inspector with the button selected right here, and you can go to on click. And if there's nothing here, like for example these, for example, have nothing inside of them, you simply click here and double click, and it creates the code. So there's a button for on key down, for example. So if a user, an end user, presses a key down, an event will fire for the button if a key is pressed down on the button. So if I double click this, it'll create the code for me automatically. You see this? Now, because I'm not using, or I haven't written any code in these, if I try to save this project, it'll actually wipe these from the code, which I love, by the way. I absolutely can't stand it. If you accidentally add code you don't want and there's nothing in it, there's no point in keeping it. The IDE intelligently knows this and just says, okay, the user didn't write anything, let's get rid of this crap. So, back to this. So, on the button click event of listen, we're going to make our rat listen for incoming client socket connections. So, on the button click event procedure, we're going to say self.client socket. So we'll go to, this is a server socket, I'm sorry guys. So we'll do if the server socket 1, we'll say server socket 1.port needs to become equal to something. And we want the port number that we're going to listen on to be equivalent to whatever the user entered in the spin edit 1. So the spin edit 1 has a what? It has a value property, which is an integer. So what I'll do is I will say the port number is equal to self.spinedit1.value, and that's it. So the port that we're going to listen on our server which accepts multiple client socket connections from all over the world, right? We're going to make it listen to this port number, which is specified in the SpinEdit1's value property. How cool is that? Then we're going to say self.serversocket1.open. Done. That's it. It's now listening on that port. And then we want to say self.button1.enabled is equal to false. Self.button1.caption is equal to listening. And then we want self.spinEdit1.enabled to be false. So now if I were to run this program, you'll see we can change this port number to anything we want. Okay, I'll change it to 3409 and click listen. This means that the server socket is now listening in the background on port 3409, and it can handle many different socket connections. So multiple clients. This can handle multiple clients connecting in. Now, whenever a client connects in, obviously you would want to show them up here and make it to where you can right click on them and do stuff. And we're going to be talking about this coming up in some of the later videos in this course. But to start out, I do have to teach people how to actually be able to sort of program in Delphi. Now I'll try to do it in a fun manner where we kind of stick to the whole ratting scheme, right? But I'm going to have to try to show you both in code and visually. So I'll tell you what, just for fun, let's add ourselves another button, because you're going to have to learn how to kind of like work with different VCL controls. So for this caption, I'm going to say add person to list view. So we're going to add a person to the list view, right? And I'm going to copy that button and paste that button over here. And we'll drag this one out and say, we will say remove. So we'll put delete selected person. So if you guys want to add someone to the list view, you click this button, just for pretend, okay? This is just for pretend. Like I said, this rat is not functional. I'm not teaching you yet on that. This is for beginners. I'm teaching you the very utter beginnings of the Delphi language in a way that seems like we're learning about rats, right? But I'm teaching you how to use a list view component and buttons and list view spin edits and all this stuff. So in order to add someone to a list view, you have to create a list view item and then throw it in here. A list view item contains a caption as well as sub items if applicable. So also, one other thing, some of you guys might actually think, this is disgusting. Like having all these things like slapped on the form, to a lot of people in programming and software development, it seems to all the world that Delphi developers tend to like having all the logic crammed right in their face where it doesn't belong. This is bullshit. We can take this off anytime we want, and it's all in code, so get over it, okay? There's a button up here. It's called the Hide Non-Visual Components, which is also a shortcut with Control-H. We do not have to have all of these non-visual components, which are just code like they're supposed to be, by the way, guys. Yeah, that's a major hit toward people that are assholes. These components are non-visual, which means when you run them, when you run the program, they're not visually seen. This is because they encapsulate code, and we like it that way because it helps us manage our code faster. Get it? That's why Delphi's so rad. It's rapid application development. We snap our fingers and we're fucking finished. So, for these though, if you do end up having way too many of these in your face, like let's say you've got one here, 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 just all over the place, you can hit this button to remove them or show them. That way you can work on your graphical interface without interruption. Then you can put them back. So you see, we have the best of all worlds here, guys. We really do. So let's go ahead and get into the programming on this. Let's add a person to the list view. So I'm going to double click the add person to list view button. Okay. So let's make a variable and let's call it li, which is a type of t-list item. Okay. So now we have our list item created in, well, it's not created yet. It's just kind of sitting there in memory. It's a variable, right? So we're going to say li is now colon equals to adding an item to that list view. Now, you guys will notice something. I did a capital Li here, but a lowercase down here. Guess what? Delphi doesn't give a shit. It's not case sensitive like other bullshit languages. This language is awesome as hell. You do not have to worry about case sensitivity. That shit is trash, okay? So yeah, we're going to say the list item is equivalent to self.listview1.items.add, and that's it. So anytime past that line, when you call li, you're calling to add this as an item to the list view past that line. So I'm going to say the list item's caption is going to be equal to IP. And then the li.subitems.add, it will add something as a subitem. And you can just keep copying and pasting this line all the way down. Like that. So if you'll notice, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 things. 3 subitems and 1 caption. So I did this exactly correct. This is the IP address of the person. This is going to be something, something, and something. The something, something, something is PC name, webcam, antivirus. So we'll put PC name, antivirus, and webcam, yes or no, whatever, right? So now we will, for the IP address, we're just going to put in, just for fun, we'll put localhost and pretend like it's an actual person. So let's do this a little bit better. Let's make this actually my PC's name, which is Zor PC or something like that. And then if I have a webcam, yes or no, logic would be placed in here. We'll do that. We'll get into this later in the rat programming, but for now we're going to say yes, I do have a webcam because I do. And then my antivirus, it's WD or Windows Defender. So now if I were to run this, you're going to see that I'm able to add myself to the list view of potential victims, right? So if you notice this though, if I click on me, notice how I can only select the IP and not the whole row. And also if you select again, you can edit this, which is not cool, right? So we want to be able to change this to read only. So if you click on the list view and go down to properties in the object inspector, look for read only and row select, which are right here. So this one, make sure they're true. Just like that. Read only true, row select true. Now whenever I actually run the program, you'll see that I'm able to add myself and click on myself, right click on myself, and do anything we would like to do as if we were creating an actual rat in real time, right? So now how to get rid of an item from a list view. Well, you delete them. So self.listview1.delete selected. That's it. You're done. So literally to delete the selected item, you just say listview1.delete selected. That's it. You're done. So if I run this program and then I add myself and I select myself and I click delete, it deletes that item. Simple, easy, 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 click, boom, boom, you're done. So I'll just add myself and then I'll try not clicking on myself and click delete selected person. So nothing happens because Delphi internally handles any errors or misconfigurations when you don't have an item selected. If no item is selected, then nothing happens. Now, if I wanted to take that even a step further, I could say this. If self.listview1.selected equals nil, then begin show message. Oh my God, you didn't select shit. And that will be about it. Now, I could take this even further and do else begin, Control D. Now this is an if then else statement. So if nothing is selected, which means we didn't select on anyone to delete, it'll say, oh, you didn't select shit. Otherwise, it'll delete the selected person. So watch this. If I run this code and I add someone and I don't select them and I click delete them, but they're not selected, it says you didn't select shit. But if I select them and click delete, they go bye-bye. Pretty cool, right? So this is very basic logic, guys, and you're going to have to learn a lot of this stuff. So let's take this out a little bit further. Let's do a checkbox so I can teach you guys how to do basic if-then checks on Boolean-based values. So let's go with checkbox. So checkbox, and I'm going to drag and drop a checkbox down here. And let's just make this the name, the caption rather of this. We'll go to the text. Where's the caption at? Here it is. So we will just simply put we'll just put checked with a question mark. Okay. So whenever you want to try to run something, so let's pull this over a little bit more, and let's grab ourselves another button. So let's go for an OK button, and we'll just put this right here, and we're going to change the caption to check it. So when I click the button check it, I want it to check and see if the checkbox is checked or not. Based on whether or not the checkbox is checked or not, I want it to display a message saying, no, it's not checked, or yes, it is checked. So what I'm going to do is, to do that, I'm actually going to make something kind of weird. I'm going to do a panel. So I'm just going to grab a panel and throw it right on top of the list view. This is kind of crazy, but I'm going to put the caption of the panel to nothing. So I have a panel here, and it doesn't have a caption. Now, if you guys will notice, I want to make every mistake so you guys can clearly see this. So if I were to run the rat right now, you're going to see this panel show here, and it's ugly. We don't want that. So you have to select it and go down to the object inspector at the bottom to visible and turn its visibility to false. So now when I run this program, you'll see that it's just like it's supposed to be, like a normal program, like a normal rat, right? So if we click the button to check it, then we will have to. So whenever we click this button, let's go ahead and get into this. So we're going to say if the if self.checkbox1.checked is equal to true. So that means if the checkbox is checked, then begin doing something else, begin doing something else. So if it's checked, something is going to happen here. If it's not checked, something's going to happen here. You see how fast and easy Delphi is to learn? It's super, super fast and easy to learn. So right here, I can say self.panel1.visible equals true. Before that, I'll say self.panel1.caption will be equal to whatever I want, which will say it's checked, right? And then we'll come and copy these and paste them down below and put it's not checked. And then it'll also be true as well. So we're also going to do some crazy stuff here in a minute, and I'll show you that. But for now, we're going to stick just with this really super simple stuff. Let's click Run. And let's leave it unchecked and click on the Check It button. And it says it's not checked. You see that? But if I check it and click the button, it is checked. You see that? Now, there is something else. On this, you have a couple of different options, but we're just, for this panel right here, like after you've clicked it, it's just not very professional. You know what I'm saying? Because like, if you click on this, it remains open, and we don't like that, right? So I want a couple of seconds to pass before it hides. Well, how can we do that? Well, we could use a timer. So why don't we just grab ourselves a timer and throw it down, and then we can click on the panel, and we can go to let's go to the timer code. Okay, so on the timer tick code, we want to say self.timer1.enabled : false. Then we want to say self.panel1.visible = false. So we're going to turn off the timer, and then we're going to turn off the panel from being visible to the user's eyes, right? So on this, make sure that it's not enabled. It fires every 3 seconds, okay? So now, whenever we click this button and we see if it is checked or it's not checked, let's also enable the timer. So we're going to copy this and paste it. So now, whenever I run the rat or whatever, and I click on the checkbox and I see if it's checked, it is checked. 3 seconds later, boom, it hides. Uncheck this and check it again. And it says it's not checked, and it gives about 3 seconds and then disappears all on its own. Very cool stuff, right? So now you've learned how to use timers, buttons, checkboxes, panels, list views. Guys, this is actually not a bad start for learning the Delphi language, right? So I'm going to continue this video, but for now, we're going to leave this as it is. And we're going to kind of go into some looping stuff, okay? So I'll tell you what, let's learn how to use forms, like other forms and stuff. So we'll create a new form. So I'm going to go File, or File, New, VCL Form Delphi. And this is a new form that we're creating. So I'm just going to say, let's just create like a button or something. So this will be a button, and we'll just put the button there and just call it Click Me. Or something like that, right? So you would design this however you want with whatever you're trying to do. And on Form 1, I'm going to make a new button here to open Form 2. So we will go ahead and double click this button and say form2.show. Now, I haven't included the Form 2 unit in my uses statements up here at the top, or even down in my implementation section. So I'm pretty lazy, honestly. The Delphi IDE will realize this, what you're attempting to try. So you can just click Run, and when it gives you an error, it'll say, oh, you're trying to reference Unit 2 or Form 2 from Unit 1, Form 1. Would you like to just automatically add this to your list? Yes. And then click OK, then click Run. And the problem is resolved. So now if I click button 5, which we're going to go back real quick and name that, we're going to put that caption to Show Form 2. So if we run this, you'll see that you're able to click the button and it shows the second form right here. See that? Pretty cool stuff, right? So now that you know how to open up other forms and stuff, we've learned how checkboxes work, buttons, spin edits, how to use timers, how to drag and drop components to the form and from the component palette. I really hope you guys are taken from this. This is all super basic stuff. Now, as I said, we're going to go into looping code. So on the Form 2, let's say we're going to create a simple loop, okay? So let's do this. And guys, I really do hope that you understand that you have to learn these things to make a rat, okay? You have to learn this stuff because it's just, you have to learn it. I mean, if you don't know the logic of your own language, how do you plan to make anything worth value? So instead of click me, I'm going to rename the caption of this to loop from 1 to 10. And I'm going to be making mistakes throughout this so that way you guys can understand how these mistakes are made and what they mean. Computers count from 0, not 1. So for those of you who are actually like developers yourselves or software people, like you're probably looking at this like, oh, I see where he's going with that. He's going to make it index of 1 to 10 instead of 0. But so the thing is, when you click this button, we want it to loop from 1 to 10 in this list box. This is a list box. So we're going to be adding list box items. So check this out. I'm going to go here and make a variable called I, which is an integer for looping, localized looping, or counting, if you will. For I is equal to 0 to, what was it again? 10? This number would actually be 11 because 0 counts as 1. Computers count from 0. So I'm going to say begin, and I'm going to say self.listbox1.items.add, and it wants a string. Integer to a string, I. Boom. So now if I run this program, I'm going to set the position of the form as well. So I'm going to click on the form, go to position, and set this to main form center. That way this form shows up in the center of my main application form, this one. So if I click run, you'll notice that I can open up the form 2, and it shows right here. Now if I click loop from 1 to 10, you're going to see, boom, it counts from 0 to 10. But we want it to loop from 1 to 10. So how can we do that? Well, also I want to show you something else. If I click on that again, you see how it goes 0 to 10? But if I click it again, boom, it adds another 0, and you have to scroll down to 10. So we want to make sure to clear this whole box every time we click the button. That way people can't stack a whole bunch of stuff in here. You see that? It looks like trash. So let's go back here, and the first thing that needs to happen on the button click is we need to say self.listbox1.clear. That's it. So we clear out the list box. Now I'm going to show you, this is a single line comment in Delphi. So this is just a comment. It's nothing more. So we'll put the comment here, clearing out any possible past results from the list box. So then we'll clear the list box, and then we'll count from 0 to 10. But we don't want to count from 0 to 10 because on the button we said 1 to 10. So let's try changing this from a 0 to a 1 to 10. However, this would have to actually go up to 11, because if you count from 1 to 10, it's actually 1 to 11. So let's run this and see what the output looks like, okay? So if we do this and we click on the button, you can see it actually does go to 11. So guys, I did that on purpose, okay? So like if you look at this, it is actually 10. Delphi is not some crazed language that tries to fool you. See, a lot of people, like when they do loops in their language, almost everyone that programs knows that computers count from 0. But in this particular case, I'm literally telling it, it doesn't get any more English than this. Like we're literally counting from 1 to 10. It is the most amazing shit I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a language with this kind of consistency. This language was created to teach human beings how to program computers, and look how easy it is to use this language. So now some of you might be thinking, well, this is all great and dandy and all, but what about the counting from 1 to 10? It's super fast. Like here, watch this again. So like if we go to the loop, it instantly goes boom, like 1 to 10 instantly, right? We don't like that. We want to try to create like some sort of a delay, right? So we can add, and then we can sleep maybe like 600 milliseconds. So we can do that. So that would be something we could try. So I'll go to the form and click the button, and it goes, well, it's not a very good thing, right? So you can tell that it's sleeping the 600 milliseconds, but it's not updating the form until it's completely done. So what we should do in this particular case, we could do the most cheap, dirty, shitty thing we could possibly think of, which is to application.processMessages. So literally, if we run this, you'll see that it's going to give a delay. So if I click the button, it's going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you see how it was kind of animated that time around, which is actually really cool. That way you can keep dragging the form and you can keep doing stuff and it won't thread lock you. Pretty cool, right? So there's stuff like that you can do. The reason I said this is the shittiest thing, there's a dark side to application.process messages, okay? You really don't want to be using that too much in your code. What I really should have done, instead of doing a sleep, would be to implement some other way of making it sleep, but in an asynchronous way. Because this right here, this sleep stuff, blocks the UI. And this is called thread blocking, because it's waiting for the system to respond on something and your application is still busy doing something. So this is not a very good idea. But for educating you, it's perfect. So we could actually take this out if we wanted to, and we could make a timer and we could do it that way. There's so many different ways we could do this. But I think I'm going to stop it here, guys. It's 40 minutes in. You've learned some basic looping. I've taught you how to mess around with the components, buttons, checkboxes, panels, list views. I showed you how to make this little server socket thing listen and whatnot. Most of you probably won't even have that installed yet. I'll have to show you how to get that, and we'll dive into that when we start doing socket programming, okay? But for now, you guys have got to practice how to, do this. Oh, and by the way, on this add person to the selected or to the list view, we want to add connections to one. So really, I'll tell you what, if I click onto the list view here, we could do like on change, perhaps. We'll do this. We'll say self.statusbar1.panels 0.text is equivalent to connections, and then boom, 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 plus int2str self.listview1.items.count, and then we will go plus and boom. So something along these lines, I suppose. So what we could put here like this would be like that. Let's see if this is an integer to a string, because this is actually going to be, like part of the count of the list view. So if you look at this, inside of the list view, you can have like however many people in here that are connected to your computer, right? So you want to take the number of people inside of this thing and put them down here, right? And that's essentially what I'm doing with this code. So there's the text, and we'll do int to string and that, and then we will put that like so. So let's go ahead and click run and try to add someone and just see what happens. I don't actually know that this change event will actually fire properly, but we'll try. So we add someone, and then that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so yeah, that's cool enough as it is. We'll delete one and see if it goes down. But see, it doesn't go down on the deletion. So that's not really necessarily a good thing. So it actually does go down, but unfortunately it doesn't catch the last event that it should. To fix this, honestly, what we could do, guys, is just copy this line of code and paste it where we actually add someone and delete someone. So I'm going to actually put it at the end of the addition of the person and the deletion of the person, just to be sure it gets it. Hopefully this should fix the problem. Let's check it out. Let's add a person, and that creates one person. Let's add 2 more, so it's 3. Let's delete this one, and now it's 2. Delete this one, and it's 1. And delete this one, and it's 0. Perfect. So there you have it. This, I hope that you guys are really taken from this. This stuff is super simple, super basic programming skills. Nothing needed. This is like literally day 0, whenever anyone learns programming, this is essentially what you have to go through. You have to understand how to drag and drop things if you're making Windows VCL form applications. And this applies for any other language, most especially those that reside in Microsoft Visual Studio and the .NET framework. It's literally the same damn thing. You're dragging, you're dropping, and you're programming. It's event-driven programming. Nothing more and nothing less. So, now that we've got all this said and done and down, hopefully you guys understand how to do loops a little better. Hopefully you understand how to drag and drop all this stuff on here and at least play around. I advise you to play around with the object inspector, the properties and events. Properties are things that define what the object or VCL component you currently have selected look like and feel like, what they're shaped like, if they have color options, font options, all this stuff, so that the human eyeball can see it, then it's usually going to be in properties, okay? Now, events are what happen in program code. So if you have a button, for example, it has all of the following events. On click, on context pop-up, drag, drop, drag over, drop down, click, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on. But honestly, guys, if you really think about it, what is the only thing a human being is going to use a program button to do? He's going to click it, right? So that's why the on-click event procedure is literally right at the top. The rest of these are Windows APIs, basically. So if someone on mouse enter, for example. So here, check this out. We'll do on show form 2 on mouse enter. We're going to make self.button5, which is our button we're messing with right now, .caption : I'm in. We'll make it I'm in. Okay, so we're going to copy this line of code, and on mouse leave, we're going to paste that in and say I'm out. So if I were to run this, you'll see that when my mouse goes into the button, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out, in, out. See? I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. Pretty cool, right? The button still functions, by the way. You can click it and it still opens the form, etc., etc. And you can still loop and do all this cool stuff. So in, out, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. Very cool. So these are the events in Delphi, and this is stuff that you really need to learn because you can take advantage of these in your program code to make your application function more professionally, right? So it's good to understand all of these, even if you don't get it, like on key down, key press, key up, enter, leave, on mouse move. There's just so many things to go through. But if you will master these and just kind of learn what they do, you will be an even greater master of the Delphi language because you'll be able to understand every single component in its entirety and its complexity and be able to utilize it for professional applications that you can build, not just rats. So, all right, guys, I think this is good. I really hope that you've enjoyed this, just this tiny little video showing off Delphi and a little bit of the language. We haven't done any addition, subtraction, anything like that, but I have shown you the following. I've shown you how to create variables, okay? You declare variables in each block of code, or at the top in private and public declarations. These are the private variables of your application, and these are the public variables of your application. Public means your entire application can see it. Private means only seen by this unit that it's currently residing in. Now let me explain that a little bit better. If I were to make a private declaration called sup as a string, okay, so sup is now it's now a string type variable, and it resides in the private declarations of my unit 1. If I go to unit 2 and I click the button, just for pretend here for a sec, I can say form1 dot, and it's going to error, so I'm going to click run because I got to include the reference. Remember from earlier, like I told you guys, I'm now trying to reference unit 1 from form 2, so I'm lazy and I'm not going to type it myself, so I'm just going to click yes. And now that I have the ability to call form1 dot, we can type in but nothing happens. You see how it doesn't see it? Like SUP is not there. It doesn't see it. That's because this variable sup is a private declared variable, a private declaration, or a private variable only viewable by the host unit that it's a part of. Now, if I copy it and erase it and put it down in public, now I can go to form 2 and type in form1 dot and then put sup. You see that? You see how I can now see sup as a string? So I can say colon equals hello or whatever I want to do. So that's because I put the declaration, the variable, in public. So any other form of any other unit can now use that variable that we declared in public on that unit. Pretty cool, right? So now you've learned about variables. You've learned about how to declare them. You've learned about the different blocks of code and the events that get fired. You've learned about the object inspector. You've learned how to add an item to a list view. You've learned how to manage a status bar and put the text to the panels, connections, blah blah blah. I showed you back that here on the rat right here, connections right there. So this is just to get you guys going. Like, this is just practice, okay? This is just trashy practice that you have to go through. Everyone has to do this, because if you don't, how are you going to know how to do anything, right? So basically, at this point, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I really think that this is probably the best way to go about showing just how simplified this language is. I mean, this is so easy, so basic. You should be able to master this type of stuff in less than 3 days. And that's if you hardcore it. I mean, don't just stop here. Like don't just stop here. And I'm going to close this out. So let me close this out and not save anything. I'm going to try to create a new one. Hang on just a second here, guys. I'm just going to make a new VCL Forms application. And for this, so there's all kinds of other stuff you want to be using. Like, there's buttons, there's check boxes, there's radio buttons, there's labels, there's edit boxes, which you can clear and put your own text in there. There's just all sorts of crazy stuff. And this is all basic. So if you think about it, this right here, all this type of stuff right here is just absolutely basic. So if I type in like, here, let me find a meter. So this is a style controls meter. So these are more advanced. Like, you see stuff like this kind of stuff right here is a little bit more advanced. Here, I'll delete this out. And let's bring this up real quick here. And I want to give this a theme. So let's go to project options, and we will go give it just a real quick appearance change, modern dark, and we'll give it a run for its money. Okay, so check this out, guys. You see how like cool this is? Look, I mean, this is really crazy. So you could do some really crazy stuff with different components that are built for doing like this kind of stuff with. So like if you were doing maybe, I don't know, some sort of thing like, how fast packets are receiving or going or whatever, you could do anything you can dream up. There's also tons of different stuff like with different components that are built for doing crazy shit with. You've got like some sort of a green VR label thing. I'm sure that looks crazy when you get it going. But there's like different thread timers, there's compass type stuff, I mean, this is crazy. So like you guys know that VR meter type software or whatever it's called. I forget the name of it. It's like VR banana or some crazy crap like that. Here, I'll try to open Firefox real quick. I just recognized what kind of component that actually is. VR. It's not VR. It's let's think. It's called Voice Meter Banana or something like that. We'll go to images here real quick. Yeah, you see this? You see how these little squares right here? These little things with the square in it? That's what this thing is. You can change the circle probably to a square and change the background to anything you want. And you've got yourself one of these components right here in Delphi. Drag and drop, no code required. Boom, you're done. How cool is that? I mean, it's nuts. It's absolutely freaking nuts. Like, we have so much stuff that we can mess with. And these are premium components. You have to, you have to pay for these, but there's just so much more. And you can go on GitHub and find thousands upon thousands of free VCL components and libraries. I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. It's just there's just so much you can do, guys. There's just so much. It's absolutely insane, the stuff that you can accomplish with this. So here's like a hot label, like, or something. I don't know. This is so weird. Some of this stuff is just so weird. Look at this bar thing you could use for like leveling or maybe progress or whatever. You could just use your imagination. You know, it's absolutely freaking insane, the stuff that you can accomplish with this. And here's a wave, a VR wave. I'm sure that's to play something, probably like a WAV. Yeah, it's a wave player. You actually stuff audio into that, and it holds it in memory, and you're able to play it. I mean, this is so crazy. This is nuts. I don't know any other language that you can get ahead this quickly and be able to design stuff like this in literally 2 seconds. Boom, you're done. No programming, no waiting, no crap. You're just done. And every single one of these will be cross-compilable for every operating system on planet Earth. That is insane, right? Insane. All right, so guys, that's it. I'm not going to ramble on anymore. I've taught you guys how to declare variables and do a bunch of other cool stuff. So in the meantime, just practice with Delphi. And I'm going to show you one last thing just before we leave this video off, and that is Delphi Basics. .co.uk. This website is worth its weight in gold. So, for example, you have the A through $ symbols up here. This is the entirety of the language. So if you want to go to I, you can see if right here, the keyword if. And if you click on the if keyword, it shows you a page with example code. So you can see all the example code and the output of that example code. Pretty cool, right? So there's literally no reason that anyone should have trouble learning this language, because there's just so many different websites similar to this one, and of course you have this one, to teach you the entirety of this language without any trouble at all. I mean, see, I can go to L, I can look at, like, I don't know, look at this. Length, what's this? Oh, here's the example code, and here's the output of that math function, right? And, oh, this is actually in the system function, not math. This is the length function in the system unit. See, it even tells you the unit to use. So, like, if I go into this code in Delphi, you see how at the top we have system.sysutil, system.classes, blah, 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 blah. Well, if I was using length, you would have to have the system unit. Well, system is generally included in almost every Delphi project anyway, whenever you're compiling for Microsoft Windows. So you don't even have to worry about adding it. It's already there, right? But you can definitely go in here and find just all sorts of stuff to learn from. Like, there's looping. Look, there's a continue loop. There's do, down to, for, go to, repeat, to, until, while. By the way, there's down to, and there's actually a whole bunch of different ones. So you can just go through here. Like here, I'll click down to right here. So we'll say that this is prefixes for a decremental for loop target value. So basically it's like this. You want to go from 5 down to 1, right? So he's saying in the code, for I is equal to 10 divided by 2. Okay, well, 10 divided by 2, that's 5, okay? So for I is equal to 5 down to 1, do show this message, I is equal to this, and this is the output. So it shows a message, boom, 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 like 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the first one is 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Because it goes from 5 down to 1. Pretty cool, right? And then another, for example code for character loop, it can go, C is a character, Okay, we're going to loop 5 times. We're going to say for C is equal to E down to A. So from capital E down to A, but it can only loop 5 times. So it's going to go EDCBA because we're doing down 2. So C is equal to E at first, then it goes down to D, then C, then B, then A. So if it went in order, it would be A, B, C, D, E. You get it? But it's down 2, so it goes E to A. Very cool stuff, right? So guys, just definitely check out this website. This is a really good website for learning. Once you feel that you are comfortable in Delphi enough to the point where you can write a simple notepad, or you can do stuff like that. When you're comfortable coming into this IDE, clicking around, dragging and dropping stuff, and actually writing a little bit of code, then you'll be ready to proceed. So I know this will be like a really long, kind of a long journey for some people. If you need ideas, or if you need assistance, or if you find yourself just absolutely bored out of your mind and you just need someone to help learn programming with or whatever, you're welcome to hit me up. I am generally a pretty busy guy most of the time, but you can hit me up on Discord. You can leave comments in the video, on this video, and I'll try to answer everyone. I promise I will try my absolute damnedest to answer every one of you. But in general, this is kind of like me saying you are kind of on your own on this one thing. Like learning the language syntax and doing all this stuff, I'm not going to sit here and write a course on how to program in Delphi when there's so many resources already out there to teach you how to program in Delphi. My courseware material is going to teach you how to program a rat in Delphi for ethical and educational purposes as a red teamer or an IT cybersecurity enthusiast or student. But I'm not going to teach you how to program in a programming language. That would take way too long. I would be sat here for the next probably 1.5 to 2 years, like teaching math, loops, arrays, just everything you could possibly imagine that you should already know before you even dive into this type of software development. I mean, if you're going to learn red teaming and IT cybersecurity based materials, you should have already researched the operating system you're trying to develop for. You should already know the language or languages that you're going to be using to make, whatever, exploits, malware, whatever. You should know all of this already, to a certain extent at least. You know what I mean? All right, so guys, enough. No more. I'm done. This video is completely finished. So just take your time, get out there, open the IDE. That's the key. Every day, open the IDE, even if it's just for like 10 to 15 minutes a day, just to try something new. You just want to open it up, try to program something that shows a picture on screen. Make something that makes a picture move, or like a picture with a GIF animation on it. Make it fly around on your screen or something. Try to make an application that you click a button and something pops up on your screen. Just anything and everything. You're just coming up with ideas to learn. Make a simple notepad and share the code so that other people can see how you did it. You know what I mean? Just help each other out. And feel free to post the links to the stuff that you make so that we can all see it in the video description, or in the video comments rather, and we'll all absolutely love to dive in with you and learn. And remember that I am here for you guys, but again, I'm not, I'm a pretty busy guy, so just if you do try to hit me up privately, just know that if I don't respond, or if I do respond but it seems cruddy, it's probably because I'm busy, okay? So I'm not trying to ignore you or be a cruddy guy. I will also be making a Discord room to invite everyone to. So I'll probably go ahead and make that, and I'll put a link in the description when and if I do that, when it's available for you guys. Okay. All right. But in any case, I hope you guys learned a little something today in today's video. And in the next video, we're going to actually start our graphical interface design of our actual rat. And we're going to get started. We're actually going to get started on the rat in the next video. But until that time, I want you guys to get out there and learn this language as best you can. Okay? Learn this language as best you absolutely can, because it's super simple to do. And in fact, if you guys can just easily drag and drop and click around on stuff, if you'll just research what's on each component you click on in the object inspector, like by going to properties and just looking through here, I know you guys are going to just, like, you're just going to explode. When you figure it out and you see how simple it is to work with these things, it's just going to blow you away. Like, you're going to find it so easy to work with, guys. So easy to work with. All right. In any case, I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one. Peace out, guys. Until next time.